Hi, today I want to show you how you can one-click publish your Despia iOS application to the Apple App Store thanks to our native AppStore Connect integration. It's super simple, it's great for testing, great for distribution, it's just your one-stop shop solution for your whole CI/CD/deployment pipeline. So the AppStore Connect is kind of like your gateway to have internal testing, so to have that app be able to run on your phone while you're working on it, because Despia gives you updates over the air. So if you get it on test flight and you make an update to your web source code, you're going to have to just refresh the application, close it, open it again, and you're going to be able to run the latest version without doing another update on your phone. So it's great for that using test flight. You will also be able to create a public beta group, meaning you can create an invite link for test flight, share that with as many people as you want to have them participate in a public beta test. So you can have essentially your early customers or your wait list test your application without having to get it on the App Store. And you can also then, of course, distribute it to the App Store to reach millions and millions and millions of people out there and benefit from that audience that is on the App Store. So everything I just talked about, this is what publish or one-click deployment with Despia, with our native integration, can do for you. This is the gateway to test flight for enhanced testing on your side. It's the gateway to test flight public beta, which gives all your users the ability to test your application and submit feedback to you. And then the last step, this also gives you the gateway to publish it to the App Store. That's the App Store Connect that handles all of that. And we integrate directly with the App Store Connect so you can benefit from all of those steps. Also, Despia by default sends your application as a draft to the App Store, so it won't, if you publish your application, it won't be immediately live. It will be put as a draft into the test flight bucket, and then you can use test flight beta testing from there, internal or external. And then if you like that, if the test feedback is good, it's just one click to move it from the test flight bucket to the app review bucket. It will take up to a week for Apple to review your app, and then you got it all on the App Store. So let's go through that process in getting this on the App Store Connect. So first of all, we need to go to the App Store Connect, and you want to make sure that you have an Apple developer account for that. I already have one here. There you go. So let's just already open the App Store Connect under appstoreconnect.apple.com. And then we also want to have another tab open, logged in with the same Apple developer account on the site developer.apple.com. This is very important because we will need this developer portal to set up some of the other parts of the application. Now, we want to start in going back to Despia, and we want to click on Publish App. Now, Publish App and device testing goes to the same widget, as you can see, because you will need to publish your app to test it on your device using test flight. That is the preferred method, the native method from Apple to test applications, right? So it both does the same. So let's just go on Publish App, because when you publish, it'll put it on there as a draft, meaning it will automatically go to the test flight bucket, because you should test before you deploy to production, of course, right? So we already take care of that for you. So when you click on Publish App, you will see this one-click deployment widget coming from the site. And inside of here, we will see something called Development Team. This will be our Apple developer account that is linked with the Despia native integration. Now, if I click on here, I don't have one yet. If you already have a developer account, just select the one that you already have. But I don't have one yet, so we need to set up a new integration. You can also have your Despia account be connected with an infinite number of Apple developer accounts if you're building for clients or for yourself, just under different accounts, whatever you want to do, we completely support that. But now I need to create a new one, so let's click on Add New Developer Account here. Let's scroll down, and you can see now we have our native integration widget here. So the first step is it asks us for our development team ID. You can't find the development team ID on the App Store Connect. It's a funny thing how Apple has that set up. So we actually need to go to the Apple developer under developer.apple.com, click on any of those options here, for example, identifiers, And then in the top right corner here, next to our company name, we're going to have our team ID for that specific entity. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go back to Despia. I'm going to paste it here under development team ID. And now it asks us for our account issuer ID. Now, where do we find that? Now everything below this development team ID actually comes from the AppStore Connect. We need to create an integration so Despia has access to our AppStore Connect account. So let's go to AppStore Connect under appstoreconnect.apple.com, and we need to go to Users and Access, and we're going to go to Integrations. Now it asks us for our issuer ID. If we take a look at Despia, we need the account issuer ID. So we're going to go and copy the issue ID here under Team Keys. We're going to copy this, and we're now going to paste it here inside of Despia. There you go. So now we got this all nicely set up. Now the next step will be going back to the AppStore Connect because we need to have our P8 API key file. Let's go here, and we now need to create a new API key. You can click on the plus here. Let's give it the name of Despia, and the access you need to grant us is App Manager because we need to be able to manage your applications, edit them, update them, and deploy them. So let's click on Generate, and now we have given, Despia permission to access that Apple Connect with the Apple App Store Connect with the integration. Now we need to put some of that data back into Despia so we can actually access the account. So the first step will be downloading the API key. Apple will give you your API key as a file. So you want to click on download here and then make sure to also back up that file because if you download it, you can't download it again. You can only download it once for security purposes. So let's download the file here. I got the file. Let's just put it on my desktop here so it is kind of like backed up. And let's go back to Despia here. Let's click on Upload API key on our file uploader. There you go. And we're going to dump the file right inside of here. Now I'm done, so I can click on Done. I got the file now uploaded. You can double check it here if you click on it again. And now I need to have the key ID because this API key also has an ID on top of it to, kind of like further strengthen the security. So we want to copy the key ID for the Despia integration here. Let's copy the key ID. Let's go back inside of here and let's paste this. Now I can click on Link with Apple. It's going to load a little bit. And now if I take a look here, we see we got the development team right inside of here all set up. So now we got the development team inside of here. I can select the development team now. And now we have this application connected with our development team, which is pretty cool. So if I reload the page, for example, this is now completely linked. As you can see, this is now the team that this app is assigned on. So when we are going to build this application, it will be signed under that specific team. Now we actually need to register this application in the AppStore Connect account so Apple actually knows that this app exists. So this app here is called Lux Stay. Let's hope nobody already has that name. So what we want to do is we want to go back to the appstoreconnect.apple.com. We're going to click on apps here. We're going to click on plus, new app, and now I'm going to select iOS. And as you can see, it asks us for a bundle ID here. So there's actually a quick link here saying certificates, identifiers, and profiles. Before we actually can create that app, we need to register a bundle ID for that application. This will help us with in-app purchases and all kinds of things, and push notifications, and all the capabilities an application will have. So let's click on certificates, identifiers, and profiles. And now we're going to go to this page under developer.apple.com, which will allow us to create a new bundle ID. So now what is our bundle ID? So there are two options. If you already have a bundle ID for an existing application that you may have built in a different tool, please contact us so we can manually import that for you. You can contact us by simply going here, going to Get Free Expert Help. It will open the intercom widget and you can help, you can reach out to us and we can help you import, your existing key stores, your existing account details for whatever platform you're building with, so you can publish an update for your existing app using the Despia framework if you want to. Now, I'm going to assume that this is your first application, that you don't already have one. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this bundle ID here that is in the one-click deployment panel. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to go back to this certificates, identifiers, and profiles. The description will be just the app name, Lux Stay, and then the bundle ID will be explicit, and I'm just going to paste it right inside of here. Now we need to register capabilities for this bundle ID. So the first one we need is app_attest. This will help us in signing the application and generating it. We also will need app groups. App groups is a tricky one because when we select app groups, we will later, after this step, need to create an app group and then go back to the step and link it with the app group. The biggest issue I see when I see Despia applications fail in the build process is people click on app group, they create the app group in the next step, but they forget to link it back to their bundle ID. So make sure to link it back, because when you confirm, there will be like configure, and you will need to first create your app group and then go back to the step and link it to that one. Otherwise, the build process will not be successful because Despia will have issues in signing your one signal integration and getting certain dependencies loaded inside of there. So now you probably also want to have associated domains. If you have a web application, this will help you with deep linking. It doesn't hurt just checking that as a capability, even if you're not using it right now. Now we need to go a little bit more down. We also need to select, where do we have it? A little bit more down, we need to select push notifications. So we have here push notifications, we need to allow push notifications, and we also need to allow broadcast capability, so we can use remote push notifications as well. Now, the next thing will be, let's go down a little bit. I think that is it. You can also select sign in with Apple if you want to provide that, but I think we should be fine here for the basic minimum required configurations. And of course, depending on whatever SDKs you want to have working in your applications, and by the way, in-app purchase is always pre-selected, you don't need to worry about that. But whatever else, you know, when you want to use our HealthKit integration, you probably also want to check HealthKit, right? And other kinds of things here. But, you know, this is kind of like the basic configuration needed to be able to work with Despia. This will be the app_attest, the app groups, associated domains, and then push notifications, broadcast capability. And then, you know, kind of like depending on what additional features you want to use, you want to check, you know, the additional ones as well, such as HealthKit, or for example, what was it? I think app clips or login with Apple, right? So that's the minimum required. Let's continue here and let's click on register. Now we have created our bundle ID here. So this is linked with Apple. Now we actually need to create, in addition to the bundle ID, an app group. So we want to click on plus here on identifiers, and we need to go here where it says app groups. Let's select app groups down here, and let's click on continue. Now I'm going to name this app group for Lux Stay. There you go. And now I need to put my identifier for the app group inside of here. If I go back to Despia, I will see my group ID. I can copy this, go back to the Apple developer platform, and paste it inside of here. This is now registering the application, that specific application here, Lux Stay, for this example, that we have set up in Despia with the Apple ecosystem. So let's go on continue here and let's click on register. Now we have it registered as one of our app groups. Let's click here on app groups and go back to app IDs, to our bundle IDs. We now want to go to the bundle ID that we have just created, and I may need to do Command F here. Let's go on Lux Stay. Oh, Lux Stay. And let's take this one here. We now need to open the bundle ID again, because we need to now configure the app group. That's very important. Lots of people are always missing it. So you see here now how we have the app group selected, but it now says configure. Most people forget to click on configure and then the build process failed. So you want to click on configure here, and now we want to take the bundle ID for Lux Stay. So let's click on app group, sorry, not bundle ID for Lux Stay, app group for Lux Stay. So let's go on app group for Lux Stay. Let's check this and let's go on continue. Now you see we have the bundle ID and it has an app group. We allow app groups for this bundle ID, and the group that is connected is app group for Lux Stay. Now you may ask yourself the question, why do we need this app group? Because we're importing one signal as a module. So if you take a look at the name of the app group, you see group.com.despia.luxstay.oneSignal, right? So in this example, we're actually registering the OneSignal capability so we can kind of like send push notifications remotely. So let's cancel this and make sure we have this one, the correct one, right? That's correct. Lux Stay, we have it linked here. You will see it should say one is selected. Let's save this. This is the minimum requirement. And now we're going to modify the app capabilities. Let's click on confirm. And now we get this all nicely set up. So now that we have this all set up, we're good to go and we're good to proceed. Now, Apple has a thing actually that if I now search for it, I will more than likely not find it in here because I just need to reload the page for that. It's a silly little thing that Apple has. So we actually need to click on plus again, new app. Let's select iOS. Let's call this Lux Stay. There you go. Let's do the primary language. Let's select our bundle ID here. You see Lux Stay, com.despia.luxstay. The SKU can be anything. It's usually just your app name and caps. So let's do Lux Stay. And I'm just going to give my team full access to test it. Let's create this. And now, as you can see, the name already exists. So you can just do something like Lux Stay minus the best travel app ever, or the best travel app. Let's create this, and now we're good to go. It's also good for ASO. So if you have an app name and you don't want someone to take it from you, go today on the AppStore Connect, go on apps, and register that name with the bundle ID so someone else can take that name away from you. It's kind of like securing a domain, which is, you know, it's just kind of like how the App Store works. So your app name actually is a little bit like a domain. You can only have one unique one. But now we got this set up here with Apple. So if we go back to the Despia configuration panel, we see we have the development team. The only thing missing is the App Store app ID that we need to link it with. So now I can go on AppStore Connect, I go on app information, and I will copy the Apple ID. That's the app ID. Apple ID is kind of like a weird name because it sounds like your Apple ID, like your iCloud, but it has nothing to do with it. It's an automatically generated ID assigned to your app. So this is the app ID. We want to copy this app ID called Apple ID, which is, you know, a little bit weird. And we are going to paste it here on the App Store App ID section inside of Despia. Oh, I just closed it. We're just going to paste it in here, right? And now that's it. And now, before we actually start the build process, I want to set myself up with beta testing. So you want to make sure that you already have the TestFlight app installed on your iPhone, because now, if you do so, you can simply go here on TestFlight. So let's go on TestFlight here. And we can now create an internal tester group. So I can go on internal testing and I can call this Despia testers, and you can really call it anything. You want to have automatic distribution enabled. Let's create this here. And now I can invite some testers, and let's go here and let's invite myself, and let's add that here. So now I got this nicely set up here. I got that name in here. So I'm part of the testers, and you can invite, you know, whoever you want to invite from your team. And now I can go back to no builds, and Now we want to go back to Despia here, and we want to go on Publish Project, because now we're good to go. Let's publish it here, and now it's going to take a little bit to publish it. So while this is loading, what it's actually doing under the hood is actually gathering all your project files. And now, as you can see, it did that, it put it all together, and now it actually sent it to an M2 Apple Mac Mini powered by Apple Silicon. So now it's actually building your application on an M2 powered by Apple Silicon. It just successfully prepared the M2 build machine, and now it's going to be building your application in Xcode. So what it actually does is it goes to a headless computer somewhere in a warehouse, and it's going to open Xcode like a robot. It's going to import your project, it's going to build it, sign it, take care of all the hassle for you. You don't have to deal with that, because it's quite painful to deal with that. And then it's going to automatically distribute it and upload it to your Apple App Store Connect account. You don't have to deal with that. Now, this process can take up to 30 minutes, sometimes even an hour, depends on how many people are right now submitting and distributing apps to the App Store. So let's just let this sit. We can close this panel, and we will also see here in our build history that it's now working and building, and you will get an update and an email when it was successfully submitted to the App Store. So I'm going to make a little cut here, and we will keep filming when it was successfully submitted. I got good news. It was a complete success. As you can see right here, the build was successful because we've done it all right. We linked the app groups and all of that. And, you know, you could click on this download button here and download your IPA, which is the artifact that was generated by creating and generating that app on the M2, but we already have submitted this automatically to the App Store, so you don't actually need it unless you want to share that with, you know, someone that likes looking at IPA files, or, you know, whatever you want to do with it. You have access to that artifact if you want to. But let's go back to the App Store Connect, and as you can see, we now have this application, the build number 1, processing here, which it can take a little bit to post-process your application, but you should be able to reload, and we should be able to see that it was, you know, successful any second. There you go. And now it gives you this little error status saying missing compliance. Now, this is going to ask us a security question, which we have to manually answer. So I'm just going to click on Manage, and it will ask me App Encryption Documentation. What type of encryption algorithms does your app implement? I'm not actually using any encryption algorithms, so I'm just going to say none of them above. You can save this. You don't have to answer, you know, to look pretty. You just have to answer based on what's true. And if you're going to say we're going to use this specific algorithm, Apple will request proof for that. So I found that it's the easiest way to just say, no, we're not using any encryption algorithm. If that's, of course, true, you want to be honest in what you say. It won't have any issue in getting it on the App Store. It is just that Apple will, you know, have certain, you know, disclaimers on your app if you publish it with that specific status. But now you see it's ready to submit. So we should be all fine with that. And I also, let me check my email, because I should have received an email from TestFlight, and I can actually share my iPhone here. Let's take a look at iPhone screen mirroring, and I have to close my iPhone for that. Let's have it connected here. And as you can see, I got an email from TestFlight, and it says LuxDay Best Travel App. You know, it was successful. I can test it in TestFlight. So I want to, of course, make sure that I have the TestFlight app enabled on my iPhone. But now I can click on View in TestFlight, and it will now open the TestFlight application. And there you go. LuxDay, the best travel app. I can install this by clicking on Install Now. Look how cool that is. And now it's installing the application. I can open it now on my iPhone. And there you go. LuxDay, allow LuxDay to track your activity across other companies' apps. Let's allow this. And let's do LuxDay would like to send you notifications. Let's allow this. Thank you for downloading our app. And now I got the application all running inside of here. Of course, I should have added like 2 rem bottom padding to make it look nice with the notch. You should always have that 2 rem about bottom padding. But there you go. It's just for an example. I'll fix it later. And the nice thing actually about this is you have updates over the air. So if you are going to close the app and reopen after you have made that change, you're going to have it, kind of like natively appear in there. And you can go back to test flight here and, kind of like view some of the details, right? You can also submit feedback. So it's great for that use case. Now, I could also create an external testing group. So now we can test this application internally with our team, with the people that work with us on this application, if you have so, or with yourself. But now what if you want to get some of your early customers a beta without actually having the app be on the App Store right now? For that, you can go to external testing. We can call this public beta. We can create a public beta group here. And now we need to add a build. So I'm going to add the build that we want to test. This will be in this example, the one that I just tested on my test flight version. And now you would need to fill out this information and then submit it. And then you would have this be submitted for a soft app review. So we can go inside of here and I can do a beta app description if I want to. So I can say, we are looking for your honest feedback. There you go, feedback. Tester email, feedback email, hey@despia.com. Just put your email in here, right? And then we can do first name, Despia, last name, HQ, whatever you wanted to say. We can go with email, hey@despia.com. And we're going to have a login. Right now it doesn't require sign up. So now you need to put a phone number in there. This is what testers will see. So you could also use something like a VoIP phone number. Let's take a look at mine for testing. I would suggest if you run a public beta test for simplicity, just create like a VoIP phone number. Let's do copy phone number here. And you can just have like a Google Voice phone number in here so testers can kind of like send you a text message and it won't go to your phone number. And because if you run a very big beta test with thousands of people in them, you probably don't want them to have your phone number because your phone will not stop ringing. So let's go on next here. And we can also, automatically notify testers. We can give them a test note. Let's be real. Let's submit this for review. So now we have created this test. We have added a build. So you can see we have our public beta group. We have added a build. And now it is waiting for review. So Apple will now take a look at that test and they will do an app review on it. Now here's the thing. If your app was approved for the beta testing, which it will be more than likely that it will also be approved for Apple distribution without any issues. Now, there are a few things where your app may not be approved in public beta testing. This is if your app includes explicit content like 18+. Apple does not allow that in general, nor for beta testing, nor for the App Store. And then, if it kind of like is something sketchy that asks people for their personal identification without having like secure methods like Stripe, Apple will kind of like see, is this app a harm to the people going to download it? And if it is, they will not allow it. But more than likely, if you're using Despia, you're a good guy or a good girl, and we're going to have no issue with that. So you don't have to worry about that. It's just a preliminary step. So when this was approved, you will get an email from Apple, and you will see somewhere in here you see public link. You should be able to go on public link, open to anyone, and you can also set a limit of how many testers you want, but I want to have unlimited people. You can also say I only want iPhone 15+ users to use it, but you don't need to do that. Let's do open to anyone. Let's confirm. And now we have this public test flight link. And then we can see which testers use our beta. So if I actually open that here, you will see that we now have this official test flight beta but it is not public yet, right? We see this beta isn't accepting any new testers right now because it is an app review. But this link will turn active so people can start beta testing your application with a public beta that is open to all your users, right? If once it was approved, which will take about 1 or 2 days, and you will definitely get an approval unless you're doing anything that you shouldn't be doing in general on an application. There you go. So now let's say this beta was successful and we want to publish it to the App Store. We can now switch from test flight to distribution, to the distribution bucket. And it is, you gotta upload like dozens of screenshots for all kinds of sizes. So and put promotional text in there and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to spare you with that. But what you want to do in a nutshell is you want to fill out everything that is to fill out here, right? You want to upload all your screenshots. You want to upload your privacy policy, everything that you need, your copyright, your marketing. And then here's the crucial step. It will say build. You want to click on add build, and you want to take the build from test flight that you want to now distribute. So we first send it to test flight so you can test it on your phone. And if you have people that want to test it for you or with you, you will give them the public link after it was approved so they can give you feedback. You can then either publish a new version with Despia, which will then, it's the same process, and then, do a bug fix or whatever, and publish that to the App Store, or you can take this one if this was, the right shot from the beginning. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go on done. So now I have this distribution as 1.0 under this build number, which comes from test flight. And then, you would fill out all the other informations. You would, set up in-app purchases if you want to, but this is it in general. And then if you were to have all the security questions filled out, you would click to add for review. It'll take up to a week and then will more than likely be approved by Apple. If it will be rejected, there are a few things that are common to cause rejections. You're not using a mobile menu bar. This is very critical. Apple wants a mobile menu bar. That's number one. Second of all, why it could be rejected is you're not using in-app purchases for in-app purchases. So here's the thing. If you're selling eSIMs in your application, you can just use Stripe and Apple Pay to go around the 15% or 30% if you're making more than $1 million a year in recurring revenue from your application. Now, if you're selling something that's a service, if you're selling something that's a product, you don't need to pay the 15 or 30%. An eSIM could count. An ebook could count for that, right? You can take that payment either outside of the application or even directly inside of the application with Stripe, for example, which you can use their payment SDK to get that all set up, right? But here's where it gets critical. When you're selling credits in your application, you will more than likely, Apple will say it's in-app currency, and for that you will need to use in-app purchases. So whenever you're selling credits, tokens, AI generations, whenever you're selling access to an ad-free experience, whenever you're selling specific things that are provided in your application, whenever it's a SaaS essentially, Apple wants to take the 15/30% by going through their payment gateway, which Despia gives you access to without having to charge extra on top of what Apple is already charging. I'm very proud that we don't do it like RevenueCat. Where if you were to use RevenueCat, you would have to pay another 1%. We cut that out. You can just use our JavaScript SDK to set that up without having to pay us anything because you're already paying enough to Apple, right? But here's the thing. Only if you do a SaaS and in-app purchase, right? But if you're selling leads and you don't sell credits or tokens to purchase leads with it, right? Whenever you're selling something like people can load money on their account and they can spend the money in their app, that is not an in-app currency anymore, right? And more than likely, if you're selling something that's a service like an eSIM, or if you're selling something that is a service like a lead, or if you're selling something that is a physical product like in a marketplace like Amazon, you don't have to go with Apple's payment gateway. So you can use Stripe, you can use Paddle, you can use whatever you want if that is what you're doing. So either a service that has a value attached to it, like a SIM card or something, which is kind of already a gray area, or if you're selling a physical product, like an online store. You don't need Apple's payment gateway for that. But if you're going to sell anything with game currency, like tokens, generations, credits, even if you're selling a lead or selling a SIM card, the moment you gamify it, Apple considers this to be an in-app purchase, so you will have to pay 15/30% going through their system. And then if you're selling anything AI, if you're selling anything that is an ad-free experience, if you're selling anything that gives them certain features in an application that the free plan doesn't have, or if you charge them money to use your app, it's more than likely an in-app purchase, meaning you have to go with the 15%/30% if you're making more than $1 million. This is just the guideline. This is the most common thing I see people getting rejections for. There's another thing that's definitely not that common in Despia. We never had that issue, but I can see how, as more and more people are using it, how we may have that issue 1 or 2 times in the whole existence of Despia, because you could technically just use Despia to publish a landing page on the App Store that doesn't look like a mobile application and doesn't have any native functionalities. I don't think anybody would be doing that, but in case you try to do that, it more than likely won't work, because the idea of having a mobile application is having native features tied to it. Because the idea for you to distribute a mobile application is to have push notifications, to have haptic feedback, to have Face ID, to have app clips, to have widgets, right? To have all kinds of things that we have inside of Despia. So if you're not using our SDKs, and you're not even using push notifications, you're essentially just trying to use it to get your web application on the App Store. It's probably not the right choice for you, because the App Store will not allow that. So if you're trying to get your web application on the App Store, please make it responsive. Please add a mobile menu bar to it. Please add some native SDKs, add push notifications to it, add haptic feedback to it. If you need, add Face ID to it, add native OAuth to it if you need to, right? Do all those kinds of things that are going to improve the value of that mobile experience, and you won't have an issue with Apple. Also, if you're going to build an app that simulates other apps in it, which you can technically do in Despia because it has a very extensive rendering engine, where you're trying to essentially build something like Expo or a vibe coding app, be prepared to argue with Apple to get it on the App Store. I don't think many people will build a vibe coding app, but Apple has a guideline, because we had it actually one time, that's why I'm talking about it. Apple has a guideline that they do not allow apps on the App Store that run other apps in them that are user generated. Now, I don't know if that changed, because there is a vibe coding app. There are many vibe coding apps on the App Store, like Replit Agent and all that kind of stuff. So whenever you get an App Store rejection, just know it's not the end of you getting on the App Store. It's just a hurdle, because more than likely you're going to get a soft rejection. Apple will tell you, no, you can't, unless, again, you're building something with explicit content. This is going to give you a hard rejection, like leave us alone. But you can still turn that around and go into a different direction and get it on there, right? But unless the nature of your business is prohibited on the App Store, you can always get it on there if you work with Apple together in doing revisions. So, for example, when Apple criticizes some parts of your UI, you can just adjust the UI and publish an update again on the App Store, go in revision with the review, they'll take a look at that, and then they may tell you, no, you know what, actually you should use in-app purchases. Then you add the SDK to your code base to use our in-app purchase plugin, and then you will say, hey, I just added in-app purchases, anything else you want me to do? Then I say, you know, I like that, but you have this link here going to your terms of service. That link opens in Safari. We want that link to open in in-app tab. I've heard those things all the time. And then, you know, what you do, you add an attribute to that A tag, target _ blank, and that will automatically open it in Despia in a new native in-app tab. There you go. And then you go back to Apple and you say, hey, I added that, I added that, I added that. Anything else I need to do? And then, you know, they say, you know what, actually you're building a vibe coding app that runs other code in them. What we want you to do is we want you to add a disclaimer before it opens the app saying you're running code in your application, please be careful, whatever. You add that disclaimer, and then Apple will probably say, okay, it's on the App Store, we just approved it, congratulations, right? So this is the process. a rejection from the App Store does not mean they don't want you on the App Store. Is they want you to provide a better quality within their App Store, right? Because Apple prides themselves in having the best applications out there, high quality applications that have a great user experience, right? So this is why Apple has that system. They actually want to help you build a better application because they already have figured out what works well, what people like, what people trust, you know, and they do want you to kind of like follow some of their rules. So when you get a rejection, it's just Apple saying you know what, I think you can do this better. Let's try this again. And you'll try that again. And of course, if you have questions, if you get a rejection because of you're not sure how to implement now in-app purchases and they want you to add in-app purchases to it, please go to the Despia page here and click on customer support, send us a message, and we are more than happy to help you resolve any issues with Apple, with the build process, whatever error you encounter. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you so much for your trust in Despia. I really appreciate that. And if you need any help with anything, please send us a message in the chat inside of here. We're more than happy to help you. But I thank you for your trust. I thank you for your time in watching this video. And I can't wait to see what all of kind of exciting stuff you're going to build in Despia. And I can't wait to download and try your app. Let me know to send me your link when it is published in the chat here. I would love to try it out. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.